British versus English thing.
Yeah. Well, it's right versus
I guess
wrong.
I'm the one who's out of place because I'm doing the European Hearthstone Grandmasters here.
Exactly. So everyone in chat, let's collectively laugh in English. Admirable.
Apologies, old chaps. Integral it is.
Integral to the overall strategy.
You just immediately convert over. I just went the other way.
Yeah, I know.
So you're just trying to do the opposite of me.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I think Bozzzton's going to win this game.
I agree. I think it's a very favored matchup. The obviously every card that Kolento has put in makes the matchup better against Warrior. This is very clearly a tertiary deck tailored specifically to counter Warrior. But even then, double Big Game Hunters, double Super Collider, double Brawl, and an Execute. Nothing is sticking on this board.
Well, we're running it back on game number 1 here with the old Eternium Rover versus Sorcerer's Apprentice, and I can tell you who wins.
Because that's how Hearthstone works. As long as they look vaguely similar turn 1 or 2, just cruise right through.
I meant in the minion battle.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, not the overall.
Right, sorry. My mistake.
It wasn't a mistake. That was poor messaging by me. I apologize.
Ambiguity is the enemy of a good broadcast, as I always say.
Someone's out on me.
Infinite magic tricks. Stick that with your Dark Frog. You just keep... That's a board clear right there.
Every time.
That's a turn 4 Flame Strike. Icicle. I'm really surprised, but I thought he was going to take Research Project.
I was very tempted by the Research Project as well. Like, obviously... there's obvious inherent downside in that card, in that you get your opponent closer to their answers. Your minions are less likely to stick in play. And I guess maybe this is showing Kolento's reasoning, is he doesn't need to play quickly in this matchup. He's coming to the conclusion that if they just play out slowly, just draw their decks naturally, he will have enough threats to outlast the Warrior.
And that seems to be Kolento in a nutshell, I think, over the years, is that he's been a very patient player.
Yeah.
Pretty much throughout, and he's going to protect this Sorcerer's Apprentice with the Ray of Frost Icicle combo. Icicle, if you're unfamiliar with that card, it was added to the Classic set fairly recently because of the Hall of Fame inclusions, taking out some of the Mage cards.
And I always get it confused with Snap Freeze. I always think they work the other way around. That's on me for being an idiot, not on Hearthstone. Splitting Image is actually pretty interesting, because if you can exhaust the shield slams and the execute, having just like Antonidas in play when you have a splitting image maybe means that the only way they can kill it is rushing it down with militia commander and weapons. It's unlikely to come up, but it's something he has to consider, because it can be very powerful in this matchup if you can perfectly tailor the situation.
Yep, to me the most unsatisfying thing I've run into with splitting image is that it sometimes activates my opponent's Super Collider.
Does it work that way?
You attack, splitting image activates, Super Collider connects, the minions attack into each other.
I did not know that. That's pretty awful, actually, then.
It's sometimes okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. And I think Kolento here is thinking, yes, it could be good, but I want cards that are more usually, that are decent a higher percentage of the time, rather than rarely very powerful.
Looking at Ray of Frost with Archmage Antonidas, I'm looking at Ray of Frost with Anticyclone.
Yeah.
Just way more uses that it has as being a double spell card than some fancy spitting images. Yeah, I said spitting, because that's what it could have been called, and they called it splitting, and I got.
Oh yeah, it could have been called that.
Because I thought it was
no joke in the card name.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It's a clever name. Clever name for a card.
They just got me good. I was upset. Admittedly, when I said I think Bozzzton's going to win this game, I did underestimate Kolento's hand.
As in, you think this hand is really good?
I think this hand is very good.
I think for the way this tertiary deck is built, this is pretty... I'd say this is under par for where he wants to be at this point.
I agree, and it's still very good.
Right, okay, okay.
So now,
fair enough.
You kind of get where I'm coming from. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Oh, I am indeed admirable. Yeah, I mean, like early on, you kind of want the arcane intellects, I think, a little bit more, which is why we were both anticipating the research project, of course, just to speed up that draw and get him through to his bigger threats.
It does fuel your opponent at the same time, though.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, you think about how powerful of a card Dr. Boom Mad Genius is in the matchup.
You don't want them to have that.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Boom Mad Genius for me in this matchup is, I think, one of the few matchups where I consider it like purely the value prospect being so important to that card. I actually feel like in most matchups, the value prospect of Dr. Boom isn't the major facet of it. I feel like it's the rush.
Oh, I agree.
I feel like in this matchup, it's quite the opposite. I feel like the value prospect is one of the major benefits of that card.
I don't think I actually agree with you. I think the fact that the rush in this matchup is so important because against Mage, you just want to clear off their stuff when they play it every single turn. That's how you beat this deck because they can't do their disgusting combos with Khadgar and the Conjurer's Calling and all that nonsense. So being able to rush out your Omega Devastators, anything you discover off the Omega Assembly as well, I personally think is a little bit more valuable.
Okay. Interesting take on it. I mean, the rush is obviously valuable.
And the value is obviously valuable.
Hence the name.
Ah, I never got that before. There we go. This hand's starting to speed up a little bit now.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, you know, how much Kolento wants to draw in this instance. You know, there is a lot of merit, I think, to getting, or attempting to rather, getting the bombs out of your deck.
Yeah.
Before your opponent actually finds Blastmaster Boom.
Yes.
Blastmaster Boom, of course, activated per each bomb in your opponent's deck.
And I'd be interested to see how many cards he tries to end up with in his hand at the end of this turn, given that he has the Astromancer in hand, which obviously goes summons a minion equal to your hand size, equaling mana cost to your hand size. And I think at the moment, with the way that the current top-end cards are shaping out, 9 mana is actually better than 8 mana, even though it was the other way around for a little while.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. 9 is just big.
Yeah, it's just huge.
You just want big stuff.
And you got like the Heroic Bartender on 8 mana now, Hyreek the Bat, a lot of underpar options.
Yeah. Bozzzton setting up for anticipating the need to use Super Collider on the following turn, so we'll swing the weapon.
My calculations are flawless.
Just big.
A little underwhelming, but still a very well-statted board for 7 mana.
Yeah, for me, it's the back end. I think that is super important against Warrior. It survives through Super Colliders, and it forces shield slams. Like your opponent can't Warpath it; they're not going to, be able to just punch it down with their little minions. I feel like 5/8, even though I think it is below average, it's still very sizable for the position you're in.
Yeah, I think it's tough because if your opponent wasn't running double Super Collider, that would be great because if they didn't use Shield Slams or a Brawl to deal with that, you have a 9-cost minion on board, you start just popping off with Conjurer's Callings.
So now, with the Mountain Giant drawn, Kolento's, I think, looking towards some sort of Harrison Jones turn, and then move into like Power Creations and nonsense until he can find, the Mountain Giant turns to get going.
So how do you find hand space, first of all? Because you...
Ray of Frost. You have a untwin-spelled Ray of Frost on the far left.
Oh, is that untwin-spelled? Okay, yeah. Okay, that's fine then.
Activated the Icicle with it early on.
Yeah, we're very happy with that then.
And so for Bozzzton, that ends up actually being quite an awkward turn because you're facing down a Harrison Jones, which I think is likely to find a banana on itself as well.
I think basically just anything else that you can play that involves actually pushing stats onto the board on this turn, one of your power plays, is just far too weak to the Super Collider to really consider anything else.
Runs out on me.
Of course, there's the notion to overload that as well, though. Perhaps you front load it with the Mountain Giant, you have Harrison Jones to answer potentially the second Super Collider, or even just do this.
Okay, this is fine. As long as he plays the Harrison on this turn, I'm happy. This is definitely contradictory to how he was playing the first game, where he was only playing the Mountain Giant when it was Conjurer's Called on the same turn. He had to pair those together. But I think that's the difference that this tertiary deck allows him to play like, because he has so much value in his deck. He's allowed to just throw it out because he has so many targets for Conjurer's Calling that he would rather hit.
Makes sense to me.
I think I like this a lot, actually.
Ooh, that's a nice one for Bozzzton to come up. But Kolento's hand is gas.
This is huge. He really needs to think now about what cards does he want to save for Khadgar, because Khadgar Power of Creation is obviously very, very powerful, but so is Khadgar Conjurer's Calling.
5/6 or 6/5. I'm taking 5/6 personally.
It survives a 5 activations of Warpath, which is a pretty big consideration.
Back end, more important than front end. That's my opinion.
Okay, fair enough.
Kolento says more attack.
Yeah.
Attack equals damage, damage equals good.
Yeah, it's the fact that it's going exactly if it was going into turn 10 from his opponent, I think he would definitely agree with you that you go for the 5/6 over the 6/5. But because it's just 1 mana short of that Warpath board clear, I think, like you said, just wants to smack.
And Bozzzton has to be careful with expenditure of removal. How do you do it? How much damage can you take? When's the right time?
Wow. Did somebody order a bomb?
Well, I'm fairly interested in the Explodinator for Brawl.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. It does put more minions on board for Sea Giant, which is the downside, unless you go, obviously, on the same turn.
Yeah, the problem is that's 9 mana, and 9 mana strands one of your hero powers.
That's true as well.
6/5 survives, and that means the Shield Slam.
A lot of resources being used now for Bozzzton.
Indeed. That's a lot of stuff gone, and I think Kolento, having seen a Brawl, might smell this as the opportunity to push. So now, 2 Shield Slams gone?
Yes, both Shield Slams gone, a Super Collider gone, a Brawl gone.
I mean, Caligos
Power of Creation.
No, this is insane.
Oh, you've just seen the Brawl. Let's go. Do you take the Counterspell?
I think
to
the
set up
Counterspell
for
is the take here.
a
Because
big turn.
the Archmage Counterspell.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
He may not need that, though. I mean, it's getting to a point where, like, Snap Freeze that's a real opportunity to secure a kill as well. I mean, you have Ray of Frost in hand.
I think I like this one the most.
Ah,
okay.
I like that as well.
That's where it's 2. Doesn't overdraw on the card either. Yeah, this all just looks lovely to me.
I think this is better than the Power Creation because Power Creation is good on its own. The Caligos by itself isn't threatening enough. The Conjurer's Calling is going to be tough for you to activate in the future, and you don't want to use it on Sea Giant, and you don't want to use it on Archmage. I mean, Caligos has now done its job. Turn it into 2 big things.
You do want to use it on Sea Giant, but I agree you would rather use it on the Caligos just to get the
It's tough to use it on Sea Giant.
Yes, yes.
Cost 10 mana.
For sure. And now, if he wants to start uploading a really powerful turn, like just another Conjurer's Call and then Counterspell on the following turn, maybe that's a bit of an overcommittal. He could just play Counterspell with this board and it would probably be fine.
Yeah, Bozzzton's in real trouble here.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Obviously, again, all his mechs do have Rush, which really helps this situation. Being able to go for, I don't know, an Execute in combination with the Dynamatic and then following up with the Goblin.
That's not the pan out you want. Just everything there shaped up.
Yeah, that was the worst combination, I think.
Yowzers.
That feels pretty bad. Having her car die, though, as it looks like it probably will, whether just through removal or the Conjurer's Call, is pretty interesting. Having those Corrupted Bloods in the deck could hurt Kolento if he's in an otherwise unlosable position.
The situation I would see Kolento perhaps trying to create is Archmage's final threat, right? It's probably the biggest, baddest value engine that he's going to have.
If that sticks, you never lose.
Exactly. So he can actually keep 10 cards in hand for a certain duration of time with Archmage Antonidas and Ray of Frost.
Oh. That's
using
a good
Banana
point.
Buffoon. I mean, there's a lot of ways for him to just keep 10 cards in hand.
In order to overdraw the Corrupted Blood.
He bombs,
or
then he
bombs.
Corrupted Blood.
Yeah. That's a good
Kolento
point.
says, you know what? Let's get some Corrupted Bloods rolling.
Ooh.
Big, bad Archmage.
We are very happy to see that as Kolento.
An additional 6-cost minion every turn.
Time runs out on me.
Oh, the Counterspell as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just perfect, right? Even if the Brawl comes down, he needs something else first in order to get rid of that Counterspell.
Oh, that's 2 for 2 now.
That's 2 for 2 on exactly
Damage
damage
Stegatron. All right, so for Bozzzton here, shield block, first order of business, second order of business, brawl,
Yep.
hope it works.
Yep. You are praying for that Banana Buffoon to just be swole as heck and beat all these other guys.
It's going to need a lot of potassium to win this one. There is one very disastrous outcome, and there's one very good outcome, and there's two pretty reasonable outcomes.
Well, let's see which one it will be. That's admirable.
Disaster.
That is the absolute disaster.
And Bozzzton,
Bozzzton, man.
clearly not happy about that situation.
And now Kolento, what does he need to be afraid of, right? He's seen both brawls, both shield slams, a super collider.
I think
Warpath that he needs to be afraid of.
I think we have approached the Archmage Antonidas turn.
Okay, I could see that. I could definitely see
You
that.
have a prime target that needs to be executed, and then you make a second one that needs to be executed, and you get to cash in on 3 spells to generate.
I think
You could do more, too. Like, you could go the Sorcerer's Apprentice and just cash all the ones.
I just want to see Kolento go for the throat here, because the one way he loses, I think, is, again, a sequence of freak bombs. Or if Blastmaster Boom comes down for a little bit of damage to the face, he needs to close this out now that he's seen all the removal come down.
He's thinking through the steps.
And I think Power of Creation is potentially a little bit too vulnerable to Warpath off the top. So I love the Antonidas line as well. Let's just kill him as quick as possible.
Some say the future is thorium or nuclear power, but I encourage everyone to look into Archmage Antonidas for fueling everything. This is insane!
Yeah, this is absolutely disgusting. I don't think Bozzzton really has anything in his deck that could even clear this, to be perfectly honest. With both brawls going down,
What?
obviously the Warpath doesn't
The heck?
get there. Okay.
How did you beat that?
Kolento's pretty good at Hearthstone.
Yeah! Granted, Big Bad Archmage won the brawl, but I think the Antonidas was a big enough of an Archmage and bad enough of an Archmage to get this done.
Does manage to clear off the board, but this damage coming through to face has to close things out.
You got to live through 36 points of fireball damage. It just doesn't happen.
I kind of like that all the fireballs in the line look like one really long fireball. Just like one guy's getting really blasted. I'm sure that's what Kolento's thinking as well.
Again, though, still just that, that one freak opportunity of explosions being able to happen.
Yeah.
I think the 7 armor here might have discouraged Kolento from going for the fireball plan.
Yeah, just in case your opponent starts to pull back board, it's possible
Because
with
you'd
all
have
the rush.
35 over 2 turns. I don't know, maybe he should have gone for it, actually, because Bozzzton goes up to 30 health with the armor up, and then a shield block would take him to 35. And so you're looking at double fireball and ping, and then into double fireball. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's 28 damage.
Yeah,
Apologies.
Yeah. And also, if they get Ziliax magnetized onto a mech, it really starts to mess things up. So I think this is just the safer route. I like the Cairn as well over the dragon there, just because you want as much front-loaded damage as possible before the death.
Yep. All right, Bozzzton. If you had one chance, and you could see it in his face, he's going, oh,
like,
really?
Boy, I'm about to do it.
Is he...
Can you imagine?
The 19 breakpoint. The 19 breakpoints here as well. So
there's one bomb in the. There's at least one bomb in the deck as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
pretty sure.
It's just funny to me that.
Yeah, there definitely is.
It's Kolento going to 16 yet again, so it has to be 4 bombs. Like, did he miss a damage this game?
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, if you look back, it almost certainly did, and it almost certainly will not matter. It's his outright. Like there's nothing else in his deck. He has to just go for the freak bomb lethal hit.
Are you going to win the long game here?
No, you never.
Of course not. That's silly.
Oh.
The maximum. Yes, indeed he is.
All right. Let's see if Bozzzton has got what it takes.
expression from Bozzzton lets you know where he got to in this game. Oh, Corrupted Blood, so that kills the
That
breakpoint now.
helps. He only needs 3 bombs now.
There's first bomb,
1.
and that's the end of that. Kolento 2-0 over Bozzzton.